Hey guys, today's video is all about documenting December by organizing, creating your pages, and adding extra pages. Hi, I'm Katie Taylor at scrappinkaty.com, where I show you how to preserve your family's memories through the art of scrapbooking. So here is a look at some of my December daily or documenting December in the past. And you can tell there is a pattern here. I've been using Close to My Heart's 6x8 albums. There was a year or two that I used other albums. Love that. And then also I tend to decorate the outside of my album. And then you can also see, kind of like some of the other girls have pointed out, or if you've watched actual process videos of some of these pages, I keep a single theme throughout. So whether that be a paper packet, on this one, I've divided it into weeks, so I have little dividers. And then I also keep the same date format. Now, a little bit like Erin, but not in a sense. I love that she doesn't necessarily date or number the date. She numbers the stories. There are a lot of days, even though December is pretty busy, there are a lot of days that we may not have anything going. So I do not mind skipping dates. But also, there are a lot of dates that have basketball. November is the jump off point for basketball. So as long as I can remember, we've had some sort of basketball game during the month. So you'll usually find that as well. And you can see there is week 2. I do have a few process videos up on this one and maybe 2018. I can't remember. But I also tend to use pocket pages, so you can see that here as well. Now, one thing that I am trying to do this year, because I have not finished 2024, I believe. Yeah, I don't think I've finished 2024. One thing that I preach to my kids, and I'm going to try to do this year, is fail to plan, plan to fail. And so in this instance, I did find that on the years that I actually created the pages ahead of time, this is one of those that I did that, I was more apt to come and finish the album instead of going day by day, which is what I tried to do in 2024. So this year's going to be a little bit different. I am not going to use a 6x8 album, even though I kind of stocked up on those per se before Close to My Heart closed. I am going to use a kit, and this is the Stampin' Up! Remembering Christmas kit. It is still available. I'll leave a link down below. If you are new to documenting December, days of December, and you want to give this a try, for the most part, I'm only going to use this kit. I am going to pull in maybe some embellishments that I have on hand, but this kit is around the $20 mark, so super affordable. And while it does not have page protectors in it to protect my photos, I am going to bring in some flip flaps to do that as well. And then of course you have the closure of the album. But I love this. I think by keeping it simple this year is a pretty big year for our family, because in essence, it could be the last Christmas year that all 3 boys are gone from the house, because we have a senior. And then, of course, we have our daughter. She'll be here for a while. But, it could be one of those last Christmases. Now, our oldest son won't be home for Christmas. That's always something I kind of struggle with, which is also might be the reason why some of these years aren't finished. I don't know if any of you, moms and dads of older kids that don't come back for Christmas, or you don't see them for Christmas because they live somewhere, that's just not feasible to come home. It always seems like family photos around the Christmas tree, family traditions that you used to do around Christmas, it almost seems like it's missing something. So this year, I wanted to keep it simple. We have a lot going on, and I felt that this kit would do that. So I'm just going to walk you through making a few of the pages just so you can see how it's done. I'm going to walk you through some things that I'm planning on adding to those pages to make them mine. But of course, those elements might be a little bit different for you. And then I'm also going to walk you through my little organization where I can keep everything handy. So once I actually start putting the photos in here, then it'll be easier for me to embellish the page and finish it off, so to speak. So much like some of the other girls, I have a place where I just keep all of my December daily stuff. Back a couple of years ago, it was a close to my heart container. It was pretty big. I had everything I needed in there, as well as the album. A couple of years ago, I switched to this. I got this, I believe, at Hobby Lobby or Michael's or something. And it just makes it really easy just to use the compartments. And then I can just tuck it out of the way. My album can be right here, so on and so forth. So I'm just going to walk you through a couple of these things. Now, I've looked at the colors on the back page of the Remembering Christmas Kit instructions. And so it tells me all of the Stampin' Up! Colors that are in the kit. So I've gone ahead and I've pulled out the shaded spruce and gold 7/8 ribbon. And then I've pulled out the real red ribbon because both of those colors are in this kit. I also have some twine. Absolutely, hands down, love Stampin' Up! Twine. It ties so nicely. So I have there's more in here than what the package is. But this is the black and white. And I don't think I'm going to add black, but I definitely want this white and gold twine. And then I'll just keep that off to the side. And then I am going to also have some adhesives. Now, the reason I have adhesives over here, but the reason I like to keep adhesives with my kit, so to speak, is because a lot of times I kind of pick this up and I take this with us no matter what we're doing. Like if we are, again, I mentioned basketball season. So if we are driving to a basketball or something, it's really easy for me to pick things up. And if I already have everything I need in here, then it makes it easier for me. So the kit actually came with some adhesives. So we've got the tear tape, which is awesome. And then we've got this real red kind of thread. So I'm going to put that, I don't know if I'm going to use that, so I'm actually going to leave that in the little sleeve. It's different than the twine. It's actually feels softer. You know, it's more like thread. Not a fan. I mean, it's okay, but I'm just not really a huge fan. Also, one thing I love to do with my December dailies, well, any project, so to speak, is I like to add dimension. So I've got some large or some regular size dimensionals, and then I've got some mini dimensionals that I'm going to keep in here. And then also by pulling out full sheets or new packages of the dimensionals, I don't have to worry about using what I use for my regular scrapbooking and card making over here. That stays intact. So even though I have lots of half sheets over here I could be using, if I use those, I'm going to have to break out these anyway, so I might as well just break these out. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually look through this kit, and if there are any die cuts, I'm going to go ahead and punch those out and put in here as well. Now, these are stickers. These will be for subtitles, so to speak. Unlike Erin, since mine is truly more like the day, there will be stories told, but my pages won't have a lot of titles other than the number. So we've got those die cuts. You can see here, those are large die cuts. I'm going to go ahead and leave those intact. These are stickers. So of course, I want to leave those intact. Those are stickers. Now these are smaller. These are, you know, kind of like envelopes that you can do. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to punch those out. I think those are small enough that I can do that. And then these are stickers as well. So we're going to keep that over here. We've got another sticker sheet. Oh, love that foil. And then we've got some journaling options that are die cuts. So for right now, I'm going to put all the die cuts in one of the compartments. If as I work through this kit, if it's a little bit too much, then I may separate the journal die cuts from the page elements, if that makes sense. We've got more stickers. We've got more larger elements, but these aren't die cuts. Those are also stickers. Got some stickers. These are stickers, so I'm going to leave those intact. And then we've got some of the pages. And of course, the pages I'm going to leave intact as well. A cute little Christmas tree. I'm just walking you through just for knowledge purposes, basically. We've got some more envelopes. Now, I did mention that this is a kit. So if you wanted to make it exactly like it is intended, you've got instructions in here. So it's going to tell you, you know, this page right here, these are the 2 pockets that you would put down. It's going to tell you exactly where your adhesive will go, so on and so forth. But because I kind of tend to do my own thing, and because I'm going to be adding additional pages, I'm not so worried that these 2 elements go with this page, if that makes sense. And then we've got some more stickers, and then we've got some more kind of tags and journaling. And then that is pretty much it for the contents of this kit. Now, like I said, depending on what we did that day, I will pull in other elements from my stash. Whether that be, you know, something current with Stampin' Up, whether that be a card kit that I have on hand, whether that be embellishments. I actually just purchased a bunch of Heidi Swap Christmas stuff, so I may pull that in here and there. But for the most part, this little tray is done. I do have, and let me go grab it, I have just a standard Christmas embellishment thing that I'm probably going to add to this just because it never hurts to add more embellishments. Okay, so I have some chunky glitter. I've got some sequins, and then I've kind of got these reindeer type elements. I'm going to put those in there. I love shakers on December dailies or documenting December. It's one of those rare instances where you can use a shaker element on a layout and you can get the full intention of the shaker, so to speak, because the pages are smaller, or the way that I document. They're smaller, so when you're actually flipping the page, you can actually see those shaker elements. I also have these. These are textural elements. I'm not sure if they're still available, but I absolutely love them. These are going to save me from having to do a lot of die cutting. So I've got 2 of those just in case. And then I also, wishful thinking, I am hoping it's going to snow sometime in December in Texas. So I have got some snowflake sequins from a long time ago with Stampin' Up. And then I've got some loose snowflakes. I'm not sure those are still available. But if they are, I will leave those linked down below. So we have those. And then I have pulled a couple of things just that I know that I'm more than likely to use. I have the perennial postage dies because I am still unsure of how I'm going to do my number. Remember that numbers are something that I carry on throughout the album. So those will all be the same. So I haven't decided if I'm going to use this or a circle punch. And then I've also pulled out this new stamp set called Our Story because of the family and the friends. I love This Is Us. I love just the little bitty pieces. And then the best memories are created with love, laughter. It's got those things right there. So not only can you use this stamp set on a big 12 by 12, which I will be doing soon, you can also use it in a smaller album like your December daily. I am also going to pull out the tree shaker domes because, again, I mentioned I love shakers, and these are cute because they have the Christmas tree. So I'm going to pull those out. And we're going to keep those right there. And then I'm also going to grab the die cut for those. So the die comes from Pine Tree Trimmings, and it's just this little sucker right here. So I'm actually, I think, just going to put that in there. That way I don't have to pull out the entire stamp set. Now I will have all my Christmas stamp sets in one area, so if I want to pull these out as needed, I can. I'm also adding 2 embellishments. We've got the real red and white adhesive back peppermints, so those will also be there. And then we've got the traditional sparkling sequins. And we'll put those right there. So I am going to speed up the rest of this, and I have already put in order the handmade pages that I've decided to do, as well as the pages that came with the kit. Now I'm going to start by basically assembling the kit pages first, the elements that I know that I'm going to use, and that way I'll know what I have left over and I can use those on some of the pages that I made myself. Now, as far as these pockets go, you're going to use the tear tape that comes with the kit and just put that adhesive on those flaps. Don't forget to put the adhesive on the pattern paper side. So when you fold those flaps over to make the pocket, then that's what will adhere to your layout base. So I've done that. You saw me use the bone folder to really make sure that they're creased and that the adhesive strips are on there. And then I'm using my take your pick tool and then just removing the backing from those adhesive sides. Now I am folding this back to make sure that I can center that onto that layout. And then we're going to work with the center panel, and this cute little polka dot pattern gets adhered there. And it's a little higher than the other one. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere that down. Now again, what I'm doing is I'm just working through the instructions and adhering the elements that I know that I'm going to use on those layouts. Now, you saw me kind of flip this little panel back and forth, trying to decide which side I'm going to use. Now, I do know that December 1st is when we are going to decorate my house, so I'm going to use the Cozy Christmas Paper Pumpkin card kit, specifically this one that says Deck the Halls. So I'm pulling out the card base, I'm pulling out the elements of the card, and then I'm going to use my trimmer, and I'm just going to cut 1/2 inch past the score line. That's going to allow me to use some of that tear tape and attach it to that little 1/2 inch piece. And then I'm going to kind of have a flap. It's not really going to be a flip flap, but it's definitely going to be an interactive element to this little mini album, which I love using in my Documenting December. It just kind of breaks up the mundane, so to speak. So I've got that adhered down, and now I'm going to start just building this card front, much like the Cozy Christmas Paper Pumpkin Kit calls for. So I've got this ornament. I am going to pull in some of my thin 3D foam circles. I absolutely love, love, love these. They're so much thinner than the dimensionals, almost like the thin 3D foam tape that Close to My Heart used to have. Now, before I adhere that down, I want to go ahead and apply some liquid adhesive to this little piece. And that way I can hang it exactly where it needs to be. And then go ahead and tuck the top of this ornament underneath that little clasp. And then just make sure that 3D foam is not hanging over the edge of that card. And now I can go ahead and adhere the little Deck the Halls, since this will be a photo of us decorating our home. And then I'm going to pull out some sequins. These sequins also came with the Paper Pumpkin kit, and I'm going to adhere those down. And I just absolutely love that I was able to use this card in this album. Now, what you see me doing here is I'm just taking the little ink spot that came with that Paper Pumpkin kit. It is pecan pie, and I'm just adding some ink around the edges so it'll pop when it's folded. I'm really not sure what's going to go on the inside yet, but I just really want that to pop. Now I'm looking at some of these stickers, and I kind of want to hide that little flap, that little 1/2 inch flap, and kind of make it decorative behind this 4x4 photo mat. So I'm just going to kind of trim these little borders down, and then I'm going to use an inch of this scallop, and I need an inch for the top and an inch for the bottom. And I'm just going to adhere those down and then adhere that 4x4 photo mat over them. And then I just think it decorates it up a little bit nicer. I am going to use this pecan pie ink on all of my photo wells just to be consistent. Now, I am not going to put all of these pages together in front of you. I just kind of wanted to walk you through my process and kind of let you know what I'm thinking. I am also going by a documenting December list that I shared with our creatives in our closed private Facebook group. And it's just kind of a starting off point. I know that December, we've discussed that it can be really busy, but sometimes when you have a list of photo prompts to take, you can definitely kind of rearrange those. But when you have a list to go by, it really helps to just kind of get you to think outside the box. So for this sticker sheet, I did keep the backing on the top, and that's going to allow me to come back in and add my photo. But those were just kind of some jumbled up Christmas lights that I absolutely loved. And here is where I'm going to decide what I'm going to do for my date. So I've got two circles. I've got the 1 7/8, which is what the real red is punched out of. And then I've got the 1 3/4 inch, which is what the white is going to be punched. So I'm just going to go ahead and punch. I think I ended up doing 27. Again, not every day gets documented, but I do try to go through the end of December to capture New Year's Eve. I'm going to finish up these circles, and then I am going to pull out the lasting linen stamp set. Love, love, love that, and the a la mode alphabet, because they do have some numbers, and I think that's what I'm going to use for my dates. Now, for the lasting linen, it is a large stamp, so I'm just going to run some pecan pie ink over the top of that image, and then I'm just going to turn over these white circles and then just get that impression on there with the ink. It does not have to be perfect, but I just love that linen look. So for my dates, what I've done is I've taken some gold foil cardstock and I've backed that with some adhesive sheets. And I'm going to just start laying down 1 through 0 all the way in a line, and then put some like repositional tape on there. You can use washi tape, but I like my 3M repositionable tape. And then I am going to run that through my die cut machine. Now, the benefit of having adhesive sheets, I'll leave those linked down below. Because these numbers are so thin, it is really hard to get an accurate amount of liquid adhesive. But because you have that adhesive backing on there, they've already got adhesive on them. So all I have to do is take my take your pick tool, remove that adhesive backing, and then stick those down onto those cute little circles that I've made. So I'm going to repeat this process to make sure I have enough of each number. If you are curious how many numbers you need, I will also try to remember to leave that down below as well. Now, I've pretty much done all my pages, but I wanted to create the decoration for the outside of my album on camera. So I am taking those Christmas tree domes, and then I'm going to take one of the card fronts from the Cozy Christmas, and I'm really liking this one because it has those corner details. Now, I did want to spell out 2025, so I'm taking these stickers just to see if they have numbers, and they do not. So I'm going to end up cutting that using that same gold that I cut my dates from. Now I'm going to run this Christmas tree through my die cut machine. Now, even though I'm not going to put the year underneath the Christmas tree, I still want it high enough. I may come back and add some ribbon or something. Now I'm going to go ahead while I have my die cut machine out. I'm going to go ahead, and there is one of the days that I have a couple of pockets. And so I wanted to cut a decorative element using the Fancy Borders die cut. I not sure if this is still available. Like I said, with anything that I use in this video, if I have a link for it, you can just click down below, expand that description, and you'll see all the shopping links. But I love that this little double pocket is going to have that little decorative element up at the top. I think it just, again, adds just something for the viewer, or in my case, it just adds a little nice little embellishment. Now, for the tree, you can save that tree for something else. And then as far as the domes go, so you've got two adhesive sides. You've got the adhesive that gets adhered to your project, and then you've got the top adhesive. So just take your pick tool, remove that adhesive backing, and then you just center that dome through the cut that you made with the die cut. I did take my bone folder just to make sure that that is really good and adhered down. Now, as far as the little shaker elements, I decided to go with the green sequins, the red chunky glitter, and then some gold stars that I had in my stash from Close to My Heart. So I'm just taking a spoonful and I'm just adding all three of those into that little dome, and then going to do my little cleanup. Here is where I'm wishing that I had my little glass board magic trays to make it easy, but no harm, no foul. Now I'm going to remove the backing on the flat side of the tree and then adhere this acetate over the top. And then again, take my bone folder and really make sure that that adhesive gets adhered down. The last thing we wanna do is make this little, cover really cute, and then this little element just pop right off. Now, I'm really shaking this little dome a lot because it is kinda staying in the way that I put them in the dome, so I had to shake it a lot just to make sure that they got mixed up. I did cut off the excess acetate so I could add some thin 3D foam tape all the way around the edges, and then I didn't go all the way to the bottom. Again, I'm thinking I'm going to use this ribbon, and that's going to allow me to kind of tie that ribbon and it get adhered to my project itself. So I have just kind of adhered that down with a little bit of adhesive just to make sure it doesn't move. And then I'm going to tie a pretty little bow. Now, like I mentioned before, I absolutely love this ribbon, not only the green and gold part, but because of the wide, it's 7/8 of an inch. And just because of the feel of the ribbon, it ties so nicely. In our 31 days of Christmas cards, I think I used this ribbon on maybe 3 or 4 cards. Again, it just ties so nicely. To cut the ends, I am going to secure the center knot first just to the card, and I'm using some micro glue dots to do that. But to cut a little dovetail, all you want to do is just fold your ribbon in half and then take your scissors and cut at an angle, and then you get that perfect little dovetailed look. I am coming back in just to kind of break up all of this, so to speak, white space. I'm coming in with my pecan pie Stampin' Right marker, and I just added a doodle line all around the outside, and then I'm going to remove that 3D foam, and I'm going to center this on that cover kind of at the top and then centered left to right. And I think that that's still going to allow me to use the closure that comes with the album. Now, to finish this album cover off, I'm going to go ahead and add the year. So I'm just pulling 2025 from the stack of numbers that I cut using that gold foil cardstock. And you can see how easy it is to just remove that adhesive backing from that sticker sheet. And I'm just basically, it makes it like a sticker. So I take your pick tool, I remove the adhesive backing, go ahead and get it adhered down. Now, I did start with the 5 because I knew that I wanted it a certain width from the edge of the book, and then I'm just taking my bone folder to make sure that it's really secured down. Now, I knew that I wanted December or DEC using these gold or these green foil. Originally, I was going to put it at the left, and then I thought maybe I'll put it either on the top of the numbers or by the Christmas tree. I ended up going with top of the numbers. Again, started with the C. I probably should have started with an E, but as soon as I get these spaced out and I'm happy with how straight they are, again, I take my bone folder to make sure they're really adhered. Since this is the outside of the album, you don't want those popping off either. Now, to break up some of that white space again at the top, I'm taking a gold big, medium, and small and adhering those glitter sequins down and then adding some doodle dots using that same pecan pie Stampin' Write marker. So now let's take a look at the pages. So of course you can see that I've got some that came with the kit. I've decorated them, and then I also have this blank spot. Now this is where this little pocket that we die cut with the decorative borders come in. I'm going to remove the backing from the adhesive tape or the tear tape. Now I did put a piece of tape kind of at the lower third, and that's going to allow whatever I put in there, which is probably going to be a photo, it's going to stop it from falling all the way to the bottom. Now, the red and white striped pocket comes with the kit, but the green part actually comes from the Christmas Tags and More 6x6 paper. I did use this packet, the 6x6 paper, a lot in this book. It really, the colors really look good with them. So you can see that larger pocket allows me to stuff in a 4x6 photo. Again, I use just kind of the Post-it notes to loosely know the dates. Again, some days we don't really do anything. Now, I did create trifolds as well as double fold inserts for this just to kind of increase. The kit actually comes with 18 days, so I needed to add some more. Here is a little trifold. So that is one side, and then you've got two more sides off to the right. Those are just used with white daisy cardstock. I will leave a link down below to a template that you can use to create those trifolds. Now, as far as the pages that I created from scratch, I did use the Creative Design Team sketchbook, the 6x8 sketchbooks. You'll find a link to purchase that below as well. Now, on the 20th, we have a family gathering, and then in the evening, we have a team's giving or a team gathering. So we've got 2-page spread for that. And then also on the 24th, I have 1 page, and then this entire Christmas tree is going to be for Christmas Day. Now, remember with documenting December, not all of your December gets put in here, just highlights. So, of course, Christmas will have a couple of 12 by 12 page spreads in our regular albums. And then you saw a bunch of pockets for the rest of that. Now, I love that this album is still able to close using the little elastic band that comes with the album without taking too much away from my album cover. And so that way it can close up and won't get damaged. So that is it for today. Don't forget, the best way to succeed is go ahead and make a plan. Then go ahead and create. If you want to use this kit, it makes it really easy. And then you can also add extra pages by clicking the templates down below. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving week.